Hey, welcome into episode number 8 of our Exploring the CVerse series in TEW 2020. This is a look at the Burning Hammer of the Wrestling Gods, BHOTWG. Try to say that 5 times fast, but this is the next installment in our series, which a lot of you guys have seemed to enjoy. Just kind of looking at the different CVerse companies in the game and maybe spark some ideas for playing as some of these companies and just that kind of fun stuff, looking at the roster, the product, all of that good stuff. And again, I know we had a little bit of a week or two off on the channel. Just I think you guys know, just unfortunately, just kind of expect that sometimes. Just the nature of real life getting in the way, job, and all that stuff. I continue to work on all these videos, but sometimes it just takes a little while to actually get to recording them. And I think I already have an AEW video ready to go in terms of like recording it and everything, but just have not had a chance to put it together. So the next episode in that series. So again, I appreciate you hanging in there. We still tend to add a lot of new people to the channel, even despite kind of the infrequency with publishing videos. But again, we've got a lot of stuff in the backlog, so hopefully you guys can appreciate. We kind of went on a sprint to get all of those videos in there, and 100 plus videos, of course, when you consider how long the WWE series is now, almost 100 videos itself, plus the AEW, WCW, and this series here, Exploring the CVerse. So let's jump into the Burning Hammer of the Wrestling Gods. We start off looking at the overall rank, 5th in the world here. So this is one of your bigger companies in the game, and if you played the Japanese scene over the years in TEW, you know that this is kind of the sort of the one that's always kind of been there in terms of looking at the overall story and everything, the giant of Japanese pro wrestling for decades. But this is kind of an interesting now spot for them to be in. As you know, you look at kind of the different stuff here, adding more of a Western style in, had the tsunami of 2016, and sort of retirements from the roster. So perhaps heading in a different direction than we're used to seeing with this company. So that is something that's kind of noteworthy here. You can use that if you were to pick them to play this, to play the game with. So $8,500,000 to work with. You got 72% momentum, which is not a ton, I guess, if you really think about it. 92% prestige. So the prestige is not really falling, despite kind of where things are. Overall popularity, if you look at it there, you've got about 71 across Japan. Not really much elsewhere when you look at some of the other different areas in the game. So again, you can kind of play this as, hey, can we return the company to its previous glory? Can we build on, kind of build on some of the future young stars that are going to perhaps be the cornerstone of the promotion for years to come? So a lot of those kind of things can play into it when you look at just kind of where things are at. Now, it is important to note, we obviously have to also look at the game world and kind of where things are at with Japan. So, like, if you look at it here, hey, I mean, it's, the economy's only at 31, the wrestling industry is only at 12. So again, kind of some of the impacts that have kind of made it to this point right here. Whereas, if you go elsewhere to the United States and all that and such, I forgot you had to click up here, obviously way ahead in terms of just where things are in those scenes. So, but also falling in the United States here, as you can tell. So that is something that's worth noting. Just, again, Japan kind of being rocked by things that have happened recently. So that is something that you really have to look at, but at least things on the rise, but still a ways to go to kind of get it back where it needs to be. So, all right, let's look at some of the other stuff here. Product is, of course, important when you look at it here, and this is, of course, a different product. If you're used to playing, kind of my style of games that I tend to play a lot, which is, the bigger, sports entertainment, those kind of ones, those promotions in the U.S., this is obviously a lot different because it is, the classic mainstream, Puro type style here. And again, you're thinking New Japan. If you're watching wrestling, like this is kind of your New Japan, where you kind of look at it and see the way the product is. Match quality is king here, as you can see. I think that's just a big part of it because, again, you sort of need those bigger matches, and you need your matches to really come through. To be able, just to be able to really kind of raise those ratings. So your events and TV shows, it's all going to be mainly constructed of matches. You can have a few angles here or there that I kind of like that idea, to be honest, because it makes it more special, I guess, to not have as many angles. You can have kind of more high impactful angles that are not that many of. But when you go down here again, you look at some of the stuff you'll see. You're going to need some match aims for some of these, technical masterclass, steal the show. And so, yeah, I mean, those are the kind of things that are going to be important here too. So match quality is kind of what it's all about, as you can see here with sort of, the different style that you have here. So that is important. Of course, a strict face tilt divide, that's something else. But you can still have the charisma, right? The characters and that kind of stuff here. So you can still have that and be able to build some characters and those kind of things. So, you do have the weight split. That's something else that if you're not used to kind of playing it there, of course, with different titles and such, the weight split can come into play. And the stables are an integral part, so they're an important part of the product. So that's something else, too, that I think you look at, and we can just go straight to that. Usually we wait a little bit, but, because stables are important, and again, this is kind of the parallels to New Japan, where, you've got 5 different stables here, and you look at this one, the Neo Prime one, you can kind of tell just made up of a lot of talented stars here. The Neo X one, so you've got kind of I guess if you want to, use the American version, the NWO split here, where you got the black and white and the red and black, the NWO originals and the NWO Wolfpack. If you want to go back in the days, the WCW. But, so that's a fun kind of narrative you can work with here. You've got other stables that, like this one, important part of the landscape. You've got the Golden Army, sort of the ones from Golden Canvas, which kind of came over. That's kind of a fun angle you can work if, you want to kind of go that route, knowing it's a stable, kind of a, one that's, I don't call them the invaders, but, they did come from another company when they came in several years ago. So that's kind of a fun idea to work with. But, all right, this is obviously one of the bigger parts of this company is the schedule itself. So again, this is a touring company. So, and I would highly advise, look, if you're someone who has played these companies a lot over the years, like the Japanese companies that have run touring shows, or even if you run touring shows anywhere, leave some feedback in the comments, maybe some advice for people who are looking at it saying, all right, I want to play with a top dog here basically in Japan. I want to play with this company. I think it's always great to have some different thoughts and feedback on how to exactly plan out your touring schedule and all that, because even I have difficulty sometimes when I try to play with these kind of companies and try to figure out exactly how I want to structure it and all that. But, you obviously have a lot of shows here. And so you can kind of see how the schedule works. You've got, the touring days. You've got basically a 7-day tour here leading up to a big event. And you've got a lot of huge events that are just kind of legendary, historic type style events. When you look at these, monthly events that you're going to have. So you're going to have an event every month. Like you have your, the Burning Path here, highly regarded. You've got Warrior Globe, Dream of the Immortals. Like you've got all these different ones. So you've still got that to work with. You're just building it up via a tour versus, your traditional sort of schedule that maybe you're used to outside of, doing, again, just sort of the, traditional type of sports entertainment style or traditional, big time WWE, WCW, AEW, whatever company. Now you do have, this is what I find exciting, obviously is having a Best of the Super Juniors tournament. That's kind of always a fun thing to have. So that's, something else you can kind of have fun building towards on that. The season finale actually going to be in October here. That's going to be the, the Night of the Burning Hammer show. So a legendary event, the season finale. So that's kind of everything you're building towards there on that. But again, this is something that can certainly take some getting used to when it comes to how you book the shows, kind of the overall just importance of the shows, and really just structuring the booking itself can be intimidating at the start. And that's why, again, I hope people who are watching this, that have played these companies regularly, maybe have some advice, feedback, all that. I know it'd be a great help for anyone who wants to jump in with BHOTWG here. I'm going to try to say that so many times, I'm going to get it wrong. I just continue to say the full thing. I say Burning Hammer. Let's just use that. That's probably a lot easier. But yeah, so the TV schedule, the events, all that stuff, like that is going to be a significant thing. And again, TV-wise, like you can certainly look at it and see, you've got a dormant TV show here. So that's something else you can do. And of course, you have options as to what you show on that show if eventually you decide to bring that back and all of that. So, all right, that's the schedule, which is probably one of the biggest aspects of this. If you choose this company, you know kind of what you're working with. From a scheduling standpoint, it is pretty extensive on that. But titles, Again, Best of the Super Juniors tournament, a pretty prestigious event, as we know. You've got, different championships, your usual secondary championship. Again, this is very similar to New Japan in that you've got a world title, you've got junior heavyweight and the singles junior heavyweight tag team. So you've got some pretty nice ones there. 2 sets of tag team belts, but of course one's junior heavyweight, one's the world, and then again just sort of a regular secondary title here, which could be your never open weight or whatever you want to call it. It can be something like that. So that's kind of set there from a title standpoint. Looking at some of the other stuff here, figurehead, no figurehead to work with right now. Again, that's always kind of a personal preference type thing. Backstage, pretty good backstage situation. Only have mildly negative influences, so not really anything to work with. If you're, you're not going into WCW 98 here, you're going in a pretty good spot there from that. No child companies at the moment. If you look at it from a developmental standpoint, you certainly, again, can look at some different options there to work with on that. And again, remember with the roster here too, you can send your young workers on excursion and all of that. So that's another luxury you have. And that can always be a fun thing. I've enjoyed that in some of the other games, is kind of sending young workers off on excursion somewhere and just kind of seeing what you get back and those kind of things. So, of course, not part of an alliance. If you look at their relationships right now, you can see that there are several, kind of, again, you can send workers here. So you can send them to CILL in Mexico if you want to send there. Obviously, a hostile attitude with Pride, Glory, Honor Wrestling. So not exactly going to be sending people there. We can send, developmental. You can send young workers on excursion to UEW. So you can send them to Europe for that. And you also have world level wrestling, which is basically complete full-on war now between these two. So a very fun scene in Japan from that standpoint, because you do have a lot of sort of hostilities when it comes to some of your bigger companies to work with on that. So that is something that is an interesting thing. And as I always say too, embrace the Hall of Fame. Like, embrace going through, maybe looking back at some of the Hall of Famers. That can kind of spark some ideas too from a creative standpoint. It just kind of helps you embrace sort of the history of the company. So that is always a fun part of looking at some of these CVerse companies. You kind of go back and embrace kind of the history of it too. So that is that. All right, so you do have the dojo here from a training standpoint, so that is worth noting as well. All right, to the roster we go. That's where the fun stuff sits. Let's go to the creative first. Your franchise players. It's going to be a theme here. Some of your top stars are older. So you got 38 and 42 here for these. Nakazawa's 42, Ori's 38. So you're going to have kind of that theme, and you kind of saw it in the bio for Burning Hammer is, kind of rocked by the retirement of some of the top stars, but you do have some other top stars that are kind of getting there too, and they may retire soon. I don't really know. I couldn't tell you in terms of playing ahead and maybe having an idea of who will retire when, but that is worth noting. You've got some, it only has one person here, but there are some pretty good young stars. There's a good group of rising talent with star quality. And you guys know I like that. If you watch the series just on the CVerse level, I like having a good group of rising young talent that has good star quality, because you can build on that. You can build the skills and those kind of things, but you can't always build up the star quality. So it's there already. That's good to have. A good group of hot prospects here, as you can see. Just a lot of people that are under 30, which is a good thing to have too, right? So, Prometheus here, 29, and just, again, it's fun to kind of look at the different people and just sort of the parallels to, actual wrestlers and such. Look, 7'1", 29-year-old, great star quality. The menace is there. The skills, maybe not so much, but this is your quote a giant worker, and it's those are kind of fun things to think about too. How do you fit him into the mix of this type of style and this company? How do you use him? Those are kind of fun things to think about. So, the usual stuff here, going through this and kind of looking at everything there. But, all right, let's go to the actual roster itself. So I think I already had this filtered. Let's filter this again. So as usual, we'll kind of start at the top here, and we'll just kind of look at the roster as a whole. So your major stars, we said, Nakazawa, Ori here, are going to be the top two. You kind of look at, I don't know why when I look at this, it reminds me of, who is it? Josh Thompson, and the other CVerse worker that was in, what is he in now? Is he in USPW? He was in 21 CW. I don't know why it reminds me of this picture of him, but so they're your top stars. So again, those are kind of a level above when you look at popularity. 73 here, 77 here, but they are older, so keep that in mind. And then if you go down to the next level, to the star level, and by the way, I think I've also have this filtered, and let me make sure I've messed this up. So star quality, we had it 70. I don't think anyone is still there. Yeah, they're the only two. So, all right, let's go down to star here. So you've got a good group of stars, but again, some of these people are retired. So like Elemental 2 here, 56-year-old, just a road agent. You know, Emerald Angel, 33. So that's something there. So you kind of get to go down the line here. But again, you've got some people, like here's another one, 42 years old. You know, so you've got some older guy. I mean, look, 41. So this is something that I think you kind of have to look ahead. And I think, again, that makes it a fun challenge to use this company, is because I think at any time some of these guys could retire, you know, as they get on up there. But who knows? That's also an important part of structuring the booking and all that, just with this kind of style, because it is, again, it's a Puro style, so it's extensive in terms of the, you know, the physical aspect and all that. So that's an important way to do it. But, you know, kind of go down to the well-known. You got some good group here. All right, let me quickly filter this, because, you know, I like to kind of filter this sometimes by different aspects. So if I'm looking at the roster as a whole, I want to look at some star quality here to work with. We're going to go max age 30. So again, you've got some good talent to work with. You just got a lot of unknown people at times. So, you know, so just building up those different things. So, you know, 20-year-old here, right? 28-year-old here, Casey Glenn. Just kind of changed the name here as we know. So I think that's the fun thing, using kind of some of these younger guys as projects. Of course, Matthew Keith's here. He's still only 30. I feel like Matthew Keith at this point is like 80. I feel like he's been been around so long. But, you know, he's 30. So, yeah. And then, again, you just keep going down the line here, and you see some pretty nice stars with some good star quality. But that's just, again, that's just based on the star quality filter. There's a lot of other guys that probably, you know, if we take this down to 60, you know, you're adding a couple more people into the mix. So I say all that to say this. I really like the roster. Like, I think the roster is interesting because I think it gives you, some of these companies, it's sort of like, what do you do? Like, from a narrative standpoint, like, how do you pick up and you just go with it, right? Like, you just take the guys. But I think this one actually makes you think a little bit, because you really start to figure out, all right, how do I need to structure this roster in terms of my long-term booking? Like, how do I book maybe if some of these top guys start to retire? And who are some of the young guys I can pick to sort of take their spot? I think that's kind of a fun thing to look at with this company. So, again, that is something else. But just to quickly go back to what I said about the product, you know, is this sort of one where, look, the physical impact, like, it can be something that can be extensive just based on the number of shows and, again, kind of knowing just the style itself, right? So I think that's something else to really think about when you go through some of this stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, it's different. And so I think that for some people, this is not, you know, the touring schedule will not be for you, and you just may not love it. So, you know, but on the other hand, once you, I think, get in a rhythm of how to book sort of the touring schedule, it can be a lot of fun, because it does give you a lot of kind of fun ideas and pairings and combinations you can work with. So I do like this company for that. So again, it's sort of a quick run through here for Burning Hammer, but I think it's more, this company to me is more about just jumping into the roster and seeing what catches your eye, because, you know, it's reading the bios, it's kind of looking at different people and understanding that you do have kind of a blend of top stars who could retire soon. And by soon, I don't mean in, you know, year one or anything maybe, but sooner. But hey, then again, if you have a touring schedule and you're doing that many shows, it could take you a while. So if you like to move fast through a game year, as you can see, this is probably not necessarily the company to do it with, because you do have a lot of shows. And of course, you can adjust the schedule as you want, but it's yeah, this is not one that you know, you're going to move quickly through, because you see how many shows you're going to be putting on a year right now based on the touring schedule. Well, again, for people who have done it, I'm very curious to hear, you know, your thoughts, because I have not gone long-term with like a touring schedule, but I have had a lot of fun with doing some of these in the past, just because I think it gives you some different ideas and sort of a different, you know, way to work in terms of how you book, and it makes you just think differently about the, you know, different ideas and such. So there you go. There's a look at Burning Hammer. Again, I forgot to pull up the tag team situation here, but some good tag teams as well. So knowing how many shows you're going to run, it's good to have a good tag team division. You got some inexperience maybe, but you still got some good tag teams to work with on that. So there you go. There's some thoughts on Burning Hammer of the Wrestling Gods, BHOTWG. That is what you call it here. And, fifth in the world, and running with the idea that you want to kind of bring them back to their former glory. You've got a good roster, a talented roster to work with. You can send some young guys on excursion, and yeah, it's just there's a lot of differences than you would have running a typical, U.S.-based promotion that focuses on sports entertainment and those kind of things. So it can offer a different challenge, and I do like that about this company. So there you go. There's some thoughts on that one, and again, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Again, I appreciate you guys. I know, as I said earlier, the videos can be a little more inconsistent these days, but, job, real life, those kind of stuff just gets in the way. And but still, I hope you go back through the backlog if you haven't checked out the WWE series, the WCW series, AEW series. There's a lot in there for you if you're new to the channel. And even if you're not, again, I'm still working on these videos. It just takes a little bit longer now, kind of given my schedule on a day-to-day, week-to-week sort of basis. So, but I promise you, I'm still working on them. And like I said, I do have the AEW one kind of queued up. I've just got to get everything to upload it and finish the recording and all that stuff. So that will be something to look forward to. And again, I hope you're enjoying this CVerse series. Kind of fun to look through all these different companies there as well. So appreciate you guys as always. And on the next episode of our Exploring the CVerse series, we will head back to Japan because we just talked about one of the companies that I want to look at next, and that is World Level Wrestling, WLW. So that is up next on the Exploring the CVerse series. We stay in Japan and take a look at WLW.